Good evening. I welcome everyone to this very special November 28th regular board meeting. Thank you for joining us. We'll call the meeting to order and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We do have a special guest, but before we go to Honorable Jordan, I would like to do a welcome and an introduction to our newest board directors. We have Director District 3, Tucker Jackson, and Director District 4, Miranda Skaliski. And prior to taking the oath of office, I will let you guys introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself. Yeah.
All right, our first challenge is figuring out the mics. I'm Tucker Jackson from District 3. I am originally from Seattle, but I've been here for 7 years and I have 2 kids at Washington, and I'm really excited to join the board.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Miranda Skaliski. I've grown up here for over 20 years and I have graduated here, and I've lived here the majority of my life, with the brief period living in Ellensburg and coming back. And I am married here with my husband here, and we have 1 stepdaughter here and at Mission View Elementary. And my oldest one is in the Pasco School District.
Thank you and welcome again. Okay, so now we're going to make it official. I would like to introduce Honorable Judge Robert Jordan from the Chelan County Superior Court to preside over the oath of office to not only our newest board directors, but also to our directors who have retained their seats. Director District 1, Julie Norton, and Director District 5, Martin Barron, and myself from Director District 2. So this time, if we can all join in front.
So if the board members could raise their right hand. I state your full name. Do hereby solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Washington, and will faithfully discharge the duties of Director of Wenatchee School District number 246, Chelan County, State of Washington, to the best of my ability. Congratulations.
Thank you. All right, now back to regular business. Esta junta se llevará a cabo en inglés, pero si alguien necesita servicio de traducción, por favor, indique su necesidad y le probemos con sus servicios. Are there any requests to modify the consent agenda? Okay, hearing none, we will move to the consent agenda. In the consent agenda, is just a routine agenda item where which we use to streamline the process. Usually in the consent agenda, we have non-controversial items. And again, it's just a routine with your standard items. In this consent agenda, we have the November 14th regular meeting minutes, the November 17th special meeting minutes, vouchers and payroll, the personnel report, policy updates, contracts, field trips, and the November enrollment report. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Julie.
I second that motion.
Thank you, Martin. Any discussion? Any questions? No? Okay, perfect. Hearing none, all in favor of adopting the consent agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, now we have action items. Our first action items is for a call for nominations for the board chair or president to serve during the ensuing year. According to board policy 1210 and the first regular meeting at which newly elected board members are seated in election years, the board shall elect from among its members a chair president and a chair or president and a vice president or vice chair to serve one-year terms. Newly appointed board members will not be eligible to serve as an officer unless a majority of the board has been appointed. First on the agenda item is the election of the board president. Do I have any nominations for president of the Wenatchee School Board to serve the upcoming year from December 2023 to December 2024?
I will make a nomination, but it's going to take more than one sentence. These are not ordinary times. You've just seen all five of us swear the oath of office, and we are all bound by ethical policy 1815. Recently, the Wenatchee School District has been the target of unjust and inaccurate propaganda. President Maria Inegas was heavily targeted, and to a much lesser extent, I was also targeted. The five of us have a job in front of us. Superintendent Corey Callahar is 5 months into his first year. He deserves and needs board support successfully to implement the strategic plan that was unanimously supported by the previous board and much more. In January, the newly elected board will review and update our norms and expectations of behavior. That is something that we do at regular intervals. In about February, we will need to complete our annual board self-assistance. It's all about values. It's all about competent governance and respect for different criteria that we might have across the board. The board president is primarily the first among a collegial, that means we work together, group of equals, but does have some unique duties. I set that out because it's very important at these relatively turbulent times to think about how we will set up a team to work together. And so I nominate Vice President Julie Norton to continue from the outstanding leadership of President Maria Inegas.
Okay, Julie Norton has been nominated. Are there any further nominations? Okay, one more time. Are there any further nominations? Okay. Hearing none. All right, let me read my notes here. Okay, so nominations are now closing, and we will do a roll call vote in regards to the nomination for Julie to serve as board chair. We'll start over on this side. Tucker?
So I just, yay or nay?
Yay or nay?
Yay.
Yes. Martin?
Yay.
Miranda?
Yay.
Julie? Yay. Okay, and for me, the no. Motion carries. Okay. Now I will hand over the gavel.
Thank you. I am honored and privileged. And I look forward to working together as a very collegial board. Okay. So next we will be entertaining motions for the vice president. Do I hear a nomination for the vice president of the Wenatchee School Board to serve in the ensuing year, December 2023 to December 2024?
I would like to nominate Tucker Jackson for the vice president role. I thought that was
You
the
can-
president.
You can do it because you weren't, the majority of the board wasn't appointed. You weren't appointed, you were
And
elected.
I believe it's correct. You were elected as opposed to being appointed by a non-election selection process. So in that sense, all 5 of us are elected members and eligible.
Thank you for that clarification.
First, do you accept the,
Oh, yeah,
do you
I
accept the
do.
nomination? Okay, perfect. Just wanted to make sure. Are there any further other nominations for vice president of the school board? Hearing none. If there are no further nominations, then the nominations are closed and we will vote on the vice president. I will take a roll call vote for Tucker Jackson to serve as the vice president of the Wenatchee School Board. I'll start on this side. Miranda.
Yay.
I am a yay.
Yay.
I,
Yeah, yay or aye.
And with that, the vote is unanimous, and Tucker Jackson, you've just been elected the vice president of the school board. And we will now resume the meeting. We will reserve nominating our policy committees and other committees after the start of the year, which is a new procedure for us. So next on the agenda is citizen comment. Do we have any citizen comment either online or in person?
Yes, we have 2 online commenters, Brian Higgins and Jack Eaton.
Okay. We will start in the order that you read them. So Mr. Higgins, if you'd like to provide us with your comment, you will be limited to 3 minutes and our secretary will be keeping time. And if we're having technical difficulties, we can move to Mr. Eaton first and come back to Mr. Higgins.
Are they either one online, Liz? No. Mr. Eaton may have withdrew because he did disappear from the list. Okay, it looks like Brian's here now.
We'll try again for Brian.
All right, can you hear me now?
Mr. Higgins, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. My name is Brian Higgins. I teach at Wenatchee High School and live on South Methow up by Lincoln Park. And I just wanted to throw some thank yous out to the community. My leadership class has been reaching out to community members to do some one-on-one interviews, and half of the class is finished doing that. And I just wanted to say thank you to the following people for donating their time to my students, especially in like the middle of their workday. Elizabeth Drath from the Chelan Douglas Community Action Council, Mario Cantu from Chelan County PUD, Domingo Gonzalez from Works at Gym, Ricardo Iniguez representing the Rotary Club, and Dr. Fabiola Barbosa from the Washington Apple Education Foundation. My students had very impactful interviews that were very surprising for them and a great experience. And these people helped make it happen. It's really important, I think, to thank volunteers we have in our classrooms because we have them all the time. And I just think that they're kind of like unsung heroes. We expect that service is its own reward, and sometimes that's not enough. And so we really should celebrate classroom volunteers. So another classroom person who's come into my classroom this year that was just surprising and refreshing is Bob Bauer from the PUD. Bob Bauer came in to ask some students to volunteer at the Rocky Beach Dam for an event. And in exchange for having the opportunity to ask for volunteers and to provide them volunteer hours, he came in and entertained my students with the history of how the dams were built and why they were built. And if no one has heard Bob Bauer talk about dams, the guy is so passionate and so entertaining that it was just fantastic storytelling. It was a great use of my students' time to hear the history from someone so passionate. And it was very impactful for my students, specifically for my AVID students, who are able to see that we have community members that want to connect and create connections and are investing in their future just beyond the classroom, but coming into the classroom. So thank you to all volunteers in our schools. Thank you to those volunteers I've named. Thank you, Martin Barron, who I see volunteering in our after school program at the high school and our homework center. Every day I walk through there after school, I see Martin Barron there with students. So thank you very much to all the volunteers. We really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. Do we have any other comments?
No, there's none unless Mr. Eaton showed up. Okay.
With there being no more citizen comments, we will move along in the agenda to the special presentations. And first up is our ASB updates. Do we have any students here from the high schools?
Okay, a second. Okay. Good evening. My name is Janissa Hepton. I'm this year's ASB president.
Oh, my name is Maxi Varra and I'm the vice president.
He's mostly just here for moral support, but yeah, so I'm so sorry I've missed the last couple of weeks due to some volleyball conflicts, but I'm excited to be here and to inform you of all of the wonderful things the high school has been up to. Where we last left off, we were planning our annual homecoming dance planned by our amazing activities coordinators, Abby Prieto and Celia Keys. The theme was Midnight Garden, and the dance occurred on Saturday, October 21st. Leading up to the dance, we had our pep assembly along with 5 spirit days planned by our spirit coordinators, James Butler and Diego Martinez Castro. And the week was filled with lots of activities. Monday, the theme was sweater weather. We had morning yoga, lunch cookie decorating, and girls flag football, which is a fan favorite. Tuesday, the theme was camouflage. We did hot chocolate in the morning. We had a scavenger at lunch, scavenger hunt, which the students really love that one because they won a bag of high chews. So and then after school, we had a girls slow pitch game, a volleyball game that Davis graciously agreed to move up the time because we then had a late night game of co-ed soccer, which this is the first year that we have done this activity, but I think it went really well and plan to see that in the future. Wednesday, the theme was pink out, and in the morning we had it's called Hype Day. So basically, a bunch of ASB students stood at the doors or kind of walked around the entrance, and their job was to every student they saw just kind of hype them up and compliment them and try to start their day off well. So that was a personal favorite of mine. At lunch, we did Stuck for a Buck, which is where students pay $1 for a piece of tape and try to stick a teacher to the wall. I think this year we used Mr. Anderson, our principal. So I would say that was pretty successful. And then after school, we had our boys volleyball tournament, which is always pretty chaotic, but went well. Thursday was Adam Sandler, and in the morning we had pancakes, which we did blow a few fuses, so maybe that didn't go well, but in the end it turned out, and we made all the pancakes and we were able to give them to our special education classes and office staff. Lunch, there was bracelet making, and after school there was a volleyball game. And we had our future Panthers there. So all of the middle school volleyball girls were able to go and cheer on the team, which was really great. And then Friday was purple and gold. We had yoga in the morning, swing dancing lessons at lunch, and our homecoming football game on Friday. Overall, the week and dance were a huge success. We had nearly 1,000 students in attendance, and the students really enjoyed something new that we tried this year, which was to have a few rooms of the high school blocked off for other activities than dancing. We had a movie room, a place for board games and karaoke. And we even did concessions this year, which we may not repeat because it was a little bit messy and maybe not the best idea, but we tried it out. And overall, I got a lot of good feedback from the dance. I would say this is probably one of the best homecomings that we've held. So that's very exciting. And then the week following homecoming, however, was not really a rest week for our ASB team because on Saturday, October 28th, we hosted the annual AWSL conference. I believe this is the first time that WHS has hosted this conference. So that was a pretty big deal to be asked the honor to do that. And I would say it went really well. We had 14 other schools ASBs attend. And James Lehman, the director of AWSL, was there, and he always is a huge part in brightening WHS. In the end, it was a very hectic 2 weeks, but luckily October 28th through November 1st, Wenatchee High held its parent-teacher conferences and allowed students some time to catch up and get an actual break. But following this break, our two amazing spirit coordinators did decide to step down due to personal reasons, as well as wanting to play sports, which kind of sounds like a silly reason to step down, but it was decided by our executive team last year that our spirit coordinators could not also be student athletes because their job is to stand in the student sections and be at all of those games. And so that was something that we talked about in the interview, and our two decided to step down and play sports instead. With that being said, the two candidates the executive team chose to fill in these positions are Caitlin Murphy and Martine Diaz. They stepped in wonderfully and already planning our annual litter box game and fundraiser. I don't think a lot has been planned, but I do believe a beneficiary has been selected. And I don't know who exactly, but I do know it's a local community member. So that's really great. In other news, our amazing diversity coordinator, Jackie Serrano, planned the El Gran Baile for November 16th, but unfortunately the dance was canceled due to a lack of ticket sales, which most likely is due to there was a lot of other events going on that Friday, including people were going for state and so the play going on and stuff like that. So I do hope that this dance will be planned again in the future because it's a great event, a great way to have diversity in Wenatchee, but unfortunately it just did not pan out how we would have hoped. A little shout out tomorrow. Max is hosting a student representative meeting where we have a student from every 2B class come, and we basically just tell them about what's going on and that kind of stuff, just to keep some student body interaction with ASB so they are all aware and can ask questions and all of that. Despite that, the weeks have been relatively mellow. I do have a few little shout outs I would like to say though. Our girls soccer team made it to state for swim and dive. Jillian McIrvin took first in the 50 backstroke. Maya Soto took second at dive. Girls 200 medley placed 12th. 200 free relay took 13th, and Sadie Sullivan placed 5th. The boys and girls cross country, Kyla Madriga took second place and Max Meadows took 14th. Volleyball took the state title for the first time in 40 years, which was followed by a kind of last minute pep assembly where a few words were spoken and the team was celebrated. All of those wonderful things lead to the present. Thank you for your time. I'm excited to share with you what happens next month.
Great. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
I have a question though.
Yes.
How successful was the stick on a wall?
It works really well. There's a picture. He was there.
It never fails to raise money.
How many seconds did he stick on the wall?
That's it, yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Do we? Great.
Hello, my name is Frankie Patoja, the West Side Leadership Club president, and I'm here. I'm excited to be here to update you on what's been going on at West Side since I was here last. The West Side Leadership Club put together a presentation for Veterans Day, including veterans we have on staff as speakers. Leadership Club sent out our SOC request form to the community and are super excited about partnering with 17 organizations in and around our community. We're currently boxing those request orders for pickup again this year. And we've been wiped out 10,000 pairs of socks that we received, which we love because that means there's socks on people's feet. Leadership Club is also doing the annual giving tree where we take 30 tags from Salvation Army and students, staff, and families can participate in taking tags and bringing in gifts to provide to families in need in our community. The club has also started a Winter Spirit Week and works, but we've not sorted out the dress up days. So stay tuned. That's all we have for you this month. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would actually like to thank everybody. No, it's great that you come and bring us up to date with the comings and goings. Congratulate both schools with their leadership roles and their outreach and their involving other people. And Frankie, good to hear the Sox are hot ticket again this year. And actually, I'm looking around the audience. We're used to hearing the ASB, but I can see two people from the Superintendent's Advisory Council in the audience. Frankie doubles up. You do two things. And Wendy, glad to see you here. So, oh no, that was sorry. I thought I missed somebody. Anyway, what I want to say is it is richly rewarding for us on the board to listen to you, our future, speak so well and reach out so well. Thank you.
All right, moving on. Next, we have the Big Six update, and I believe Dr. Kalahar, are you going to take this one?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. Thanks, students. All right, excellent. So yeah, we'll pull up the slide deck, and I just want to thank the Board of Directors for their time this evening. We'll be revisiting the data from our Big Six strategic plan. We first shared the preliminary data with you in August, as well as some successes and some areas of improvement that we wanted to share. And so I'm coming back to you tonight with some of the completed data. And this information also coincides with our fall Inside Wenatchee Schools newsletter that should have arrived in district mailboxes this week as well. So we'll jump on in here. And this is the first slide of our slide deck today, and it outlines the Big Six as our baseline report card data. Let's see if all right. And so we have here just our promise statement to our students. We promise to build a foundation of diversity, equity, and inclusion from which each student emerges future ready. And the next slide will dive into who that is. Those are our students. And we know that each of our, hello. Stand by. I don't know why I struggle with this every time. It's just, okay, it's just going to be that way. Anyway, so here's our students, and we know each of our students comes to us with their own unique characteristics that make them who they are. And the Wenatchee School District's demographic has changed over the last few years, and we are more diverse than ever, which gives us the opportunity to ensure that we know how to deliver high quality instruction to the many different learners in our system. And so, so here we have our total student head count for our enrollment, 7,413 students from the state's perspective there. That is different than our FTE count, which our apportionment and our enrollment is based on. So it's a little bit different if you compare those numbers from other budget updates as well. But you can see our federal race and ethnicity, where we have 54% of our student population is Hispanic and Latino. 41% fall into the white category. And then we have our students with two or more races at 2.9, and then our Black African American students, our Asian students, and our Indigenous students as well. Our program and characteristics on the other side there are English language learners at 22%, our low socioeconomic students at 60%, and our highly capable students, our high cap students at 12.4%, and the homeless students just below 6%, migrant population about 15.7%, and our students with parents in the military 1.2%, and students on 504s 3.9%, and our students with disability coming in with 16% there. So that's our student population and who we are as a student group in the Wenatchee School District. We also have our teacher demographics here. And so you can see that we have 530 classroom teachers. Roughly almost 60% of those teachers hold a master's degree or higher. We have almost 16% of our teachers are national board certified, which is one of the most rigorous certification processes in the nation. And the average number of teaching years experience from our teachers is almost 14 years. And you can see that our female teachers outnumber our male teachers 3-1. And then you can see our the race and ethnicity of our population of teachers here, where we have a little bit over 83% there that are white, and then 13.4% Hispanic Latino. And that's one of the things that we are understanding is we increase the need of our learners, and to understand who our learners are. We also need to increase the diversity of our staff as well. We know students learn better, are more engaged, and see a brighter future for themselves when they can identify people like them throughout their educational experience. So let's dive into the data. All right, and so this is the first of our Big Six student outcomes. This is not, and I just want to make a clarification, it is not state report card data. This is the baseline data from our strategic plan that we want to report to our board and to our community, and that we believe is important for our school district based on our strategic plan. And this particular Big Six data point is the only one that is not based on our students and their learning. This one is based on our teachers and the strategies that are used by our educators. So we'll take a look here at the data. 77.3% of students received and participated in grade level and beyond standards and instruction. 58.5% of our teachers use strategies intended to elicit 100% student engagement. And then 64.9% of the teachers noticed and adjust when students were not engaged. And these scores and percentages are accumulated through the year in our learning walks in conjunction with our learning and teaching team. And this year, we're bringing our building administrators on board for those learning walks as well. And so this data is tracked through a survey-like tool that we use during the walkthrough, and it is a snapshot of our teachers and what they're doing in the classroom. So usually about 10 to 12 minutes, our teams are in the room gathering this data. So this is our experiencing high quality instruction slide. Number 2 is belonging and connecting. Students know that they belong. They know that they are seen, valued, and heard, and they have healthy relationships with the staff and peers. So we can see here that we have 66.4% of our students feel safe at school. 73.1% feel that they are treated with respect. And 67.4% of the students feel that there is an adult at the school who will encourage them. And our metrics for scoring and tracking the details for Big Six number 2 is our annual culture and climate survey that is taken directly from the students in the spring. And during the survey implementation window, we also gather data from our stakeholders, including staff, parents, and families as well. All right. Big Six data point number 3, reading on grade level. Students will read on grade level by 3rd grade and beyond. We have a number of statistics here. We know the importance of reading on grade level by 3rd grade and beyond that 3rd grade. So the first 2 data pieces encapsulate our 3rd graders, and the other data points gather 3rd grade data and beyond. So you can see here, 57.7% of our 3rd graders score at or above grade level on their spring overall reading iReady. And then we have 37.6% of our third graders scoring proficient or above in the English language arts smarter balance assessment. And then we move on to the beyond part, third grade and beyond. So 47.3% of our third through eighth graders are scoring at or above grade level in their iReady. And then 42.4% of our third through 10th graders are scoring proficient in the ELA Smarter Balance Assessment as well. All right. Ready for algebra. Students will be on grade level or beyond by eighth grade in algebra. We have a couple of different data points here. So 28.4% of our students in grades 3 through 8 scoring proficient or above in the Math Smarter Balance Assessment. Have some room for growth here. 38.9% of K-8 students scoring on mid on grade level or above on the spring iReady assessment in math as well. And this student learning outcome truly begins in the early grade levels and moves throughout our entire system. And implementation of our new math instructional identity will show improvement over the course of the next few years as we move into the second year of our strategic plan. We also have our essential math routines that we're implementing this year: engaging instruction, problem solving, growth mindsets, productive struggle, and student discourse. And with that new math instructional identity and some of the essential math routines, we're looking for those scores to skyrocket. All right, number 5, on track for graduation. And students are on track to graduate by the end of their freshman year and beyond. And this is a metric that is tracked by OSPI, and this is part of the Washington State School Improvement numbers that we get, the framework that we get for our school district. This metric is the number of students who passed all the classes they enrolled in during 9th grade. We know that 9th grade is a very pivotal year in the minds of and some of our young students, and the success in 9th grade ultimately helps shape the decisions that they make for the future academic trajectories. So you can see here that 63.1% of our students are on track for graduation based on passing all of their classes in 9th grade. Okay, lots of data on this slide here, and lots of student participation. This particular slide and our Big 6 item involved in real-world relevant learning does not happen without partnerships in our community, and we are excited about that. Students are engaged in a continuum of learning experiences that create awareness, exploration, preparation, and work experiences to be future ready. And so we have 86.4% of our K-6 students are participating in science field experiences. 84.3% of our 7th through 12th grade students are enrolled in a career or technical education course. 97.6% of our 7th through 8th graders are attending a career and technical education field experience. And then some areas that we are slated to grow in and have intentional plans to grow in that area. 26.4% of our 9th grade students, or 9th through 12th grade students are participating in job shadows, internships, career launches, apprenticeships, and worksite learning. And 16.8% of 9th through 12th graders are earning industry recognized certificates as well. So we know we can grow these numbers in the areas, and we do recognize that this is our baseline data in our first year of implementation of the strategic plan. These are data points that we want to continue to work with and have very intentional action steps and intentional processes in place to grow in these areas over the course of the next few years. And so here is a QR code to our strategic plan and the roadmap to fulfill our promise to the students. This particular QR code takes you to the strategic plan section of our website for more details on priorities, our core values, and more on the Big 6 outcomes as well. So thank you for allowing me to present, and a huge shout out to the cabinet team over here for all of their work, their executive sponsorship, compiling the data, reviewing the data, and ownership of the work and implementation of the work. Couldn't do this work without them. That is a cabinet team that rocks right there, and we appreciate all their efforts. And then I just want to open up the time for comments, questions that I can answer or get back to you with.
I have questions. How are we, I mean, this is great. Thank you for providing the data and looking outside, really digging into the data of the school, what the school district and how it reflects with what's happening in the classrooms. My question is, how are we incorporating the equity audit that we did a couple of years ago in regards to the Big Six? Thank you for recognizing that obviously, when we have teachers that reflect their students are going to be higher achieving, more productive, feel more included. So that's just one component of, our demographic, student demographics for Latino students is growing. We went within just a couple of years, went from 52% Latino to now 54. Our staffing numbers kind of tend to remain somewhat the same. And I know that was one of the things in the equity audit, because I'm going to call it what it was, an equity audit. How are we incorporating, and there's other aspects in there too, as well as, high quality instruction, incorporating more of our district demographics into those highly capable courses and referrals, same thing, grade level. So anyways, I'm curious to see how, obviously you can't provide an answer on the spot, but how does that audit incorporate into the Big Six?
Excellent. Yeah, I'll say a few words at this point. Each of our cabinet members are taking ownership and executive sponsorship of that equity audit as well. So that is wonderful. And we are doing some very intentional work in our learning and teaching team. And what I would like to do is come back and give a presentation update on the equity audit itself so that our new board members and our community can see where we are with that work. So and we can tie that into how the Big Six are related to it as well. So
yeah, I think we need to, work, look at them together.
Yeah.
We can't consider them as two different. I mean, there's things that overlap. And so how are we incorporating the Big Six into all those areas of improvement?
Perfect. Yep. Great question.
If I can add a thought, I wonder whether a workshop isn't a better forum. You can get more data and more interaction doing it that way. Think about it.
And do. Thank you. Yep. Great questions. Other ones?
Yeah, I have a kind of a calibration combo set of questions. We are, by the way, thank you very much for everybody for putting this together, but we're sort of reaching to get our baseline benchmarks and then move from there. And we've coming out of a lot of data disruption. So I'm going to pretend I'm Laura now and say we need a timeline, but it's really true. We do need a timeline, and I'm not asking for it now. I'm just saying, I'm sure you're working on it, but we need to calibrate what we're going to mean by a timeline. Data is meaningless unless the context is well defined. And then this one is a friendlier question. When we were trying to work our way through a lot of disruption, you lent a lot on progress during the year with some of your statistics. And so when we look at these statistics, what time of the year is kind of the one question, is the calibration one. And the other one is, will you continue to use in-year progress as a way of looking at how well the Big Six is being done, or is that a stopgap?
I want to make sure I understand the question.
Oh, well, you would compare the fall with the spring and look at how much progress was made in the course of a year.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yes, we will still be doing that as well. And it will not necessarily be part of our yearly report, so to speak, for the strategic plan, but we'll have that data. We are collecting that data and we will report that data to the board. The growth, that's our growth data. How do our students grow from the fall to the spring? So yes, we're still collecting that and we can still report on that as well. Because that's important for us to I now understand where you meant during the year data.
Wrong words, wrong jargon.
It's perfect. No, it's perfect. We will still be doing that. Okay. And I like your request for the timeline and the calibration of that timeline. So we'll begin working on that. Appreciate that.
I'll follow up with the questions I had. They're somewhat related, especially when it came down to item number 2, belonging and connected. It troubled me a little bit that we're using data from a survey last spring and now it's December. Is there another way we can track and monitor that progress in particular? Because it does concern me a little if we're going to wait until next spring to decide if we made any improvements, especially in that area. Feeling, I'm looking at statistics saying 66.4% feel safe at school. I'd like to know a little more timely if that's still the case, if we're making improvements rather than waiting till next spring. So part of the calibration issue, can we get some more, and that was a little tougher, but that to me is a real determining one, especially when we're dealing with absentee problems and things like that. If, our students not showing up because they don't feel connected, can we get a better handle on that within the year?
Well, and I'll just, I'll mention this, we have done that annual survey. This will be our 5th year doing that annual survey. So the data does not go untouched. So that information is shared with the building principals. We take the information in May, the building principals get it immediately. And then in August, they add that to their school improvement plans and build that into the system and the process. So it's not going untouched and it's not going unmonitored. We do have those processes built in. Yeah.
Right. And maybe that was a misunderstanding. I assume they're working on it based on this
Absolutely.
information and throughout the year. It would be nice if we could see something tangible that these improvements that we're making are working sort of a little bit more in real time versus waiting to the end of the year saying, hey, did the adjustments we make the difference? That's where I'm trying to understand. Is there something a little bit more timely that we can see that these, they're monitoring, but is there, how do they know that the monitoring is working?
Correct. So, yeah. So I can get that for you because each building has their own temperature checks that they do throughout the year with their students. But as a district, we do the annual review. So I can share with you what each building does to monitor that their students are safe and cared for. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is one of the data points that we actually got to see when we were doing site visits for our PLC classroom visits. I think we were at the one in one of the middle schools where we got to see firsthand the chart. It went from red to yellow to green, and how it progressed in regards to the SEL aspect of it. And so, because I also worry about survey fatigue for our students. I know they just took the healthy survey, the youth healthy survey thing, and then with standardized testings as well. So I am concerned that we are overloading. I think we as parents kind of oftentimes feel that way. I know we do it at work. So because everything that we get home from our student, it's like, we're going to do this, please review the survey with your student and so that's my concern is that it seems to me like through PLCs, there is classroom data to support the work and to track it, how they're going. So maybe seeing a presentation on a dipstick on a building on a couple grade levels to see how that's going. But I do worry about survey fatigue.
I would add I was a biology major, worked in science for a while. If you are changing up when in the year you're giving this, like, even if it's relatively the same questions, like that data changes because if you have something in May and people have the year to like evaluate how they're feeling, if you say that in the fall, all of a sudden it's a very different test with a very different kind of student climate. So.
Okay, thank you.
No. And just in general for these updates, I really like having the strategic plan updates, and I'd really like to see maybe a drill down quarterly on one of our big six, maybe building it into our regular board meetings a little bit more of I think it forces us to be more intentional about looking at it and monitoring it ourselves and just keeping it tangible, an eye on it, but also using it, focusing on one aspect at a time, kind of makes us able to do a little bit more deep dive on a particular piece versus the overview of all six for every update. I'd like to see maybe some more like monthly might be ambitious, but quarterly, if there's data on a particular point to really, let's see how we're doing on this big six item.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we can spread that out throughout the year and kind of drill down. I like that.
Any other questions, comments about the presentation?
I have one. Okay, this may sound silly, or redundant. So when looking at all the numbers on here, is it with the statistics that show here, this is beautifully done. It makes
Thanks,
sense.
Diane.
I really like
Yeah.
reading it. Thank you. But my question is that when looking at the data, I know in the past, in past discussions or in meetings too, like say, like example, the standardized tests, there are students that don't participate in it.
Mhm.
Those are the statistics that we don't see in there. Is this statistics that we're seeing here accommodating for all of the students?
Yeah.
Because it was mentioning the 7,000 population for the demographic. Is that breaking it down for with the reading on grade level for the students that are feeling safe, so on and so forth?
Okay, which data in particular I can address? Because if it's the Smarter Balance assessment data, that includes students that were present for the assessment and students that were not present for the assessment. And the students that are not present for the assessment, they're counted against us, unfortunately. So it would be considered a failure. When we do the culture and climate survey, it's done on a particular day in a classroom, so it may not be representative of students that are absent in that particular day. And there's a window of time that teachers have to get those students that were not there caught up. If
I
that
think
helps a little bit.
it does. I think, I like the idea to have more diligent just to keep reviewing too, to see if the numbers are changing, to see what the statistics are looking like though. But also I think for people like me, I wanted to compare and contrast also to see what is it reflecting for the students that are being accounted for, and then how many students are not being accounted for too. So then that way we're making sure that nobody is being left behind. And then if we're not meeting those needs for them, whether the scores are not being reflected or they're not getting what they need in whatever criteria, then we can try to see to narrow down what are we to do to help them as well.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any other questions? Great to see good participation from our new members.
Yes. Excellent. All right. Well, thank you for the time.
Moving on, it looks like next on the agenda is first read of our policies. I will hand that over to superintendent and or the remaining member of our policy committee.
Excellent. Martin and I can address this. So the first item we have on our policy review is 1450. And this policy was added for discussion from the board, and we did make some changes on the policy, excusing an absence by informing board president, secretary and executive assistant when absent, and then we more clearly defined absences as being or extended absences as being for unexcused absences. And that is the extent to the changes that we made. Are we okay over here? Okay. All right. And so, yeah, so that's where we were on 1450. I don't know if Martin, if you had anything else to add on that.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking for my notes because I kind of work on paper. Yes, we went round and about and defining an unexcused absence without making it complicated. Very simple. If you make a mistake and fail to report in, then it's unexcused. But that's just a reminder in reality, because the sanction only comes when you have 4 consecutive unexcused absences. So that was a way of making it very simple, probably taking the conflict out of it to some extent. And we also separated the policy on duties from the policy on attendance and only had sanctions in the attendance one, not in the duties. The duties being kept positive. And I say that because that was a discussion at the committee and I think at the board level about having something that had a positive approach to good behavior.
Did you want us to comment on each of these individually as we go, or do you want to wait till so we're?
We can comment on them individually at the time. Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? And for the new board members, how we typically do the policies, just so you know, is they're on this agenda right now for discussion only. So this is your chance to ask some questions. It's a lot, so you do get these in advance, but if things come up during the meeting that you have questions on, either ask them here or you'll have time before we get to the second read, to email any questions you have. Second read then, which would usually be the next meeting, is when we would adopt these. So right now you're just being asked to look at them and comment if you have any questions or issues with anything. Oh, go ahead.
Actually, you know what? I think you gave me a redirect as the surviving member of the policy committee for everybody to kind of explain how the system works. We are governed by policies. We're a policy governed board. The Washington State School Directors Association basically produces model policies most of them are based on law. When Olympia is busy, we get new policies. That is an extremely efficient way. They're funded externally. They use legal counsel. We don't have to invent the wheel by ourselves. So the first stage is Kim is the administrator who heads up the policy committee's work, and she will collect the changes in model policies. If there are any issues raised on the board or within the district, those be brought to attention. And the first stage then is a two-person policy committee working with the superintendent and executive secretary, executive assistant. We'll look at those, discuss them, and basically produce a draft. At times, we will say we would think this works better or needs some local content. That is the first reading. That's what comes to you at this point for discussion. It's a soft discussion, as it were. Based on that, they can go back to the policy committee, or if there is a general consensus that it's ready, then later on it becomes a second read, and that is an action committee item. So it's really about a four-step process between the legislature and WASDA to a policy committee to a first read to action.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martin.
As I mentioned in the first time we put this in for first read, I'm okay moving this forward, but just so, you know, I would like to see a little bit more of a directive as to what attendance means, whether we're talking in person or remote attendance, you know, just to prepare ourselves for the unforeseeable of what could happen, what has happened. You know, I'm okay with this. We could push this forward to second read, but I think we definitely we should define what attendance means, what the difference between remote and in person.
I think I can give a policy committee answer to that, because I think you're right that needs to be dealt with, but it was a conscious decision that to separate those two aspects of having an update on the policy and then not looking at remote attendance and things like that until we had a new board with a new perspective. So it's not being shoved away, it's being put on the agenda for the five of us now.
So I did have one question, and I do agree in concept that if we're going to deal with types of attendance, they should be a separate policy. And I think that's what you previously discussed. My only concern on this particular policy, and I don't know if we ever got the WASDA model. If Kim sent it, I apologize, I didn't see it. But I did look at other districts to see if what was proposed was similar, and it looks relatively consistent. So I'm going to assume that this is fairly standard WASDA policy. The only thing I don't particularly care for in this is, even though it's redundant, I don't like removing the active or training military duty from that line 1. I know we address it in the very next sentence, but it just feels weird taking it out of the top, saying illness, military, or other authorized absence as the reasons for declaring a position vacant. Like I said, I do realize it's redundant because we address how a military leave is handled, but I just don't like that it doesn't jump out at you right away like it did with the original language. So I would like to see the active or training military duty left in section 1, but otherwise I'm good with it. And I saw that was still consistent with most of the other policies. They all left them in.
Don't you think that's confusing and redundant, because the military absence is specifically dealt with in a specific way that is not the same as other absences?
Yeah, I agree it's redundant, and that's what I opened with saying. It is redundant, but the concepts are a little different. It says we'll declare a position vacant if the absences were for reasons other than illness, military training, or those authorized by the board. And then we jump down and specifically tell you how we're dealing with military training. So because it's there, because it's likely in the model policies, I just assume keep it up there, because then your eye is immediately trained to see, okay, it's not going to be one of those conditions that's going to cause me to vacate it. And then looking down, it's how we approve the leave for that particular leave. So I think they're very distinctly kind of two different concepts, but it is a little redundant. It does send the same message that military leave is authorized. Like I said, I didn't see it removed from any other policy. I kind of don't like saying illness, other reasons, and not recognizing military in there, but that was just my preference.
I'm finding very confused. It specifically says will grant an excused absence. If there's a policy that says we will grant an excused absence, there seems to be no reason to include it in an explanation.
Right. It was just I don't know if it's really worth it to belabor it, but it is a very distinctly, the way it's phrased in one, it says, we'll declare a board member's position vacant if the absences were for reasons other than illness. And then we struck active military duty or those authorized by the board. So it leaves a hole there. It says we will declare a position vacant if the absences were for reasons other than illness or authorized absence by the board. And then we jump down to the first time in this policy dealing with specifically military leaves, saying if the board member is on active military duty, the board will grant an extended leave of absence. So yes, this assumes then that we won't declare the position vacant as per section 1, but it's.
I mean, wouldn't that be something falling under authorized by the board? And then we're using the specific instance of what is authorized by the board in the reference to military duty or training. So it seems like
it is.
We're covering it in other reasons, and then we're just saying here's one of the exact rules specifically.
Right, but it was there. Like I said, it is a little bit redundant. I'm not going to die on the hill for it, but I didn't like the appearance of taking it out. But yeah, it would be an authorized, a leave authorized by the board. That was my only thought. Any others? Want to hit the next one?
Yeah, excellent. So the next, the 6 other policies that we discussed felt like more housekeeping / boilerplate policies. We did not have a ton of discussion or dialogue between the members of the policy committee. We introduced many of the policies to one another and felt the need to pretty much move forward without much change or discussion, but we'll go through each of those right now. The first one is 1610, WASDA revised policy based on House Bill 1577. And this one in the summary notes here basically increases the monthly contract value which municipal officers may have beneficial interest in from $1,500 to $3,000. The policy really protects individuals in the district from conflicts of interest when there is a potential for unethical benefit from school district funds. And we decided to move that one forward and felt like it was necessary.
And I was going to say, most of these were identified. I don't know whether they used the word housekeeping, but basically WASDA identified them as they either come from a bill or an adjustment to a number rated to inflation. So they fit that category, but I think we should cover what the category was as Corey did on that particular one.
Yep, excellent. Other thoughts or comments on this one? Oh, all right. And then we'll look at the 4001 public information program. This one is based on House Bill 1230, public health information. So the legislation is requiring school districts to maintain a website to post a prominent link on the homepage, as well as the homepage of each school that has information on the Department of Health about substance use trends, overdose symptoms, and secure storage of prescription drugs. And this one also links to another policy as well, 2121. And I just have in the notes here that during this first read, we are currently not in compliance with this, but we will be by the second read and moving forward. So we need to do a little work on our end on the website piece. But yeah, this is good information that we need to have. All right. And then 6020, system of funds and accounts. And this is based on Senate Bill 5403, school districts depreciation subfunds. This is a fun one. It requires school districts to have fewer than 2,000 students to establish a depreciation subfund within their general fund to reserve funds for future facility and equipment needs. Just to summarize, the model policy revisions reflected these provisions are offered in brackets to indicate the school districts with more than 2,000 students not necessarily required to adopt those provisions. Thought it did a good description of the different funds, the general fund and the capital projects funds, the debt services funds, but we decided to move this one forward as well.
I'll make a comment. This one really is reporting standards. And the last time we revised this policy was in 2011. So I think it's about time we brought up reporting standards, which were probably in line anyway, but brought the policy up to date.
Any thoughts or comments? Okay. All right, 6550. Capitalization threshold for leases and subscription-based information technology arrangements. It's a tongue twister there. WASDA has developed this policy to address recent statements of the Governmental Accounting Standards Board regarding lease and subscription-based information technology arrangements. These statements reference a capitalization threshold set by the district, prompting the need for board policy setting such thresholds. We didn't have much discussion here and we moved that one forward.
And I believe the threshold is about $65,000 if you look at 0.05% of our budget. Yeah, just so somebody gets an idea of the level at which you would be capitalizing.
Excellent. All right, thanks, Martin. 6959, WASDA has revised this model policy to better align with the statutes pertaining to public works contracts that receive state funding. Additionally, WASDA has developed a new accompanying model procedure to support procedural matters without locating those portions in the policy. And we're moving that one forward as well. In the final policy, this is super fun stuff. I can see the crowd is very excited. So I know I'm sorry to just leave you with this cliffhanger, but 2121 is linked to the 4001 policy that we talked about, and this requires us to have a post of a prominently link on the district homepage to the Department of Health as well. So we moved that one forward, and we will be making sure that by the second read, we have all that information ready to go.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? No, I do have just to add on sort of, and I hate to put this all on you, Martin, because you're the remaining member. But given that we just recently went to WASDA and we had onboarding training in our newest members, I would like to see if there's a draft model that addresses House Bill 5227 in regards to DEI training for board directors. And if not, maybe we might want to consider adding one under board of directors.
I agree, and we'll research that then. I do have in my back pocket the fact that we do have an orientation policy. And actually a year ago, we reminded ourselves that we need to do a good job of that. So I think that's those two intentions can go together.
Thank you. And just a little bit of context, sorry. There was a House bill that required board directors to take 2 DEI trainees provided by WASDA or an approved trainer within 2 years. Okay, during term. And so you'll get emails and you hear about it. I'm not sure if either of you guys had the opportunity to attend any of them during WASDA. So.
Excellent.
All right, if that's it for the policies, then we can move along to the superintendent's report.
All right, there it is. Excellent. Well, just to start off, welcome and congratulations to all of you. Very excited for our new board, and it's kind of monumental to have all 5 board members taking the oath at the same time. So that's something we probably won't ever see again in our lifetime. Maybe we'll see. But just wanted to let everyone know I had a wonderful time at the Washington State School Directors Association conference a couple weeks ago. We had this entire team was present there and on task for learning. I felt that there was a good balance of learning, but also that there was a good balance of time that where we were just able to connect as people and as humans, and to kind of build that teamwork that we're going to need as we move through as we move through the rest of this year and into unforeseen turbulent times in front of us. So I'm just greatly appreciative that you were all able to make time for that, and just appreciate you all. And then I'll dive into a little update here. We have a little softball update, which I'll try to make sure that we have along the way as we're moving into that build. But since our last board meeting, Bernardo Will's team came to Wenatchee for 2 days and met with district leadership. They met with softball coaches, both past and present, as well as community members at large, to discuss needs, goals, and desires around the softball field. And it was really a fun and engaging time. In addition, they met with the city to understand the needs and the complexities around the compliance and code work that we have to work through. And we'll have a more detailed update on December 12th from Rob Gross, our project manager. So he'll give us more of the details. Very excited about that. And then just an update for our board and our community on bond and levy work. Superintendent Bill Eagle put in motion a variety of items that set this district up for future bond and levy work. One of those was a presentation from Trevor Carlson from Piper Sandler. That was about a year ago. It was in December last year. And then he gave his own presentation on bonds and levies last April. In addition, Bill proposed our current study and survey of the Wenatchee School District, which is currently happening now, to give us the most up-to-date information with our buildings with regard to age and depreciation and a variety of other items that we need to know. The last one was in 2014, so it's good information that we have. And so the update is the study and survey is almost finished. We should have a draft of the findings in mid-December, so I'm excited about that. We had a SCAP funding meeting with the state, which told us a variety of information about Wenatchee High School. The fact that 90% of the Wenatchee High School is ready to be updated, which I think many of us know that, and which equates to 290,000 square feet of that building is ready to be updated and is eligible for state match up to $53 million. So that's an interesting number for us to have as we move into levy and capital bond time. We also had the Cleaner Building Standards workshop for our board, which talked about some of the needs of all of our buildings throughout the districts. And then also some of the cost of fines if we don't do some of that work. And we did receive the cost level industry level assessment for Wenatchee High School. And the cost of doing that is roughly about the same as what the yearly fine would be if we don't do anything. So I was like, okay, well, that kind of works out well. We also met again with Trevor from Piper Sandler, and he met with our district facilities team. We've also been meeting with other companies out there to look at what pre-bond work and consulting looks like as we move into bond and levy season. We know our current levy ends in December of 2025, and we are just ready to begin ramping up for bond and levy campaign for 2025, just to kind of let everyone know. And then an update for our board and our community on the athletic director position. We know that our athletic director is retiring at the end of 23-24. And as a leadership team, we are currently evaluating the needs of the district, also some of the financial constraints that we have as we plan to address the athletic director position. Statewide, we know that administrative positions are usually posted in the February and March timeframe, and posting any positions too early does not always garner better or more applicants. In some cases, it can eliminate potential applicants as well. We are still building a timeline. Like all administrative positions, we will post on the appropriate professional websites along with our own website, and we will encourage our current administrators to reach out to their colleagues as well. We will continue to share additional information and most importantly, how our community can be involved once we determine our plan to proceed. We know that we have a very active community in our athletic program, and we thank them for their support. And I thank the board and the community for their support of our athletic programs as well. So thank you. Some celebrations. Newberry had a literacy night last week, and it was the first ever family reading pajama party. So that sounds fun. I think we need to go to that next year. And that was in conjunction with North Central ESD. Over 300 students and their families attended, packed the cafeteria, the hallways, the classrooms, all eager to read and support literacy. The Newberry Literacy team coordinated the event with North Central ESD, who ran some of the activity stations, including crafts and read-alouds. Creativity and engaging family literacy nights directly supports our district's strategic plan, Big Six student outcome number 3, which we talked about earlier today, reading on grade level by 3rd grade and beyond. And the final celebration, one of our district trainers, Anaisa Lemus Polito, was awarded Washington Apple Education Foundation Alumni Volunteer of the Year, which is a tongue twister. She was surprised with the Alumni Volunteer of the Year award from the Washington Apple Education Foundation last Friday. She's a former recipient of the Apple Education Foundation Scholarship and volunteers her time there to mentor students. So she is part of the scholarship selection committee as well, and we congratulate Anaisa on her accomplishments and for giving back to the students and the community through her volunteerism. So thank you.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead. You missed the volleyball champions.
That's what I was going to say.
They did. The ASB covered it well, but there's lots to celebrate. Congratulations to Wenatchee girls volleyball. Is there any questions on the superintendent's report or any follow-up for Corey? Thank you for covering the athletic director timeline. I appreciate that. Moving on then to any board communication. We'll pick on that end of the table first.
I will admit that I was not prepared for this portion of the of the meeting. I will do a better job next time. I will say I really appreciate the retained members of the board for reaching out and asking if I had any questions coming into this meeting, and also to Dr. Kalahar for asking if I need anything coming up, because it is a little daunting being up on this side of the table. So thank you to everyone.
I had one super exciting session at the state school directors conference on student voice. Yakima has, I think, an absolutely amazing and, to me, perfectly designed system that was just awesome. Corey didn't get to go to it, but I made him get the package of information. Yes. So I'm hoping that other people will be excited and that will give us ideas for our student advisory council. It really was awesome. And it reached down to the middle schools, and it involved basically proposing solutions and working on things. And that's how an organization gets strong. That's kind of how I thought of it. So that was pretty exciting. And since I'm looking over there, Wendy, I want to embarrass you. The North Central Educational Services District gave you a special honor. I saw it in the newspaper for outstanding studentship. So congratulations to you. And then I'll just say you're just one of a number of superb students in the school district. Well done.
Martin, you hit it right. You hit the nail right on the head in regards to the student representation on the board. I was going to bring that up again from the conference, the school director conference. I'm just going to present it again. 3rd time's a charm. That, you know, invite my colleagues to really look into what it means to have student represented on the board. I know we hear how fabulous our ASB students are and the information they share. Now, imagine from a civic role, different students, what opportunity we could provide for our students in our high school, and how much we as board directors can learn from them. You know, them being in the middle of everything, they definitely provide a very honest perspective. So I invite colleagues to kind of think about what it means to have student representatives on the board. I got the state champs. Oh, I also attended the pre-conference for the law conference. And I just want to say, at one point there was breakout sessions. I think Corey tackled one of them. I went to the other one in regards to social media. And I just want to say how proactive the district is in regards to the lawsuits the Jewel lawsuit and the social media lawsuit that we have also joined. It was impressive, a little impressive for me to see how far our district has come in regards to, taking those into consideration, and how even big districts, they're like, what happens when you join that? Or, there was a lot of questions around it. And I know we were part of the Jewel lawsuit. We've kind of closed that chapter. We've seen, I don't know whether we got a big chunk of money or not. It's making a statement and a stance on where we stand on, say, substance abuse. And so I just want to say thank you to the district for the leadership to being proactive in regards to taking that into consideration for our students. And that was it for me.
Yeah. Oh.
All right.
You don't have to. This is
No.
you don't have to present.
I will say
Save
with
it for last.
Tucker, I didn't really fully prepare, but I will be better prepared moving forward. I do want to thank everybody on the board these last couple weeks, even with the WASDA conference and up to this upcoming meeting of feeling welcomed, feeling belonged by everybody. It will be an amazing journey moving forward and lots to learn. Going to the WASDA conference, just taking a step back, thinking about what has happened in the last 3 days, which was a lot of information in a short amount of time, but I did learn a lot. I was really grateful to be there. It was a big eye opener, and utilizing the practices and the policies to make our district better is what I'm looking forward to. And also to echo what everyone said, congrats on all of our school athletics. They've done a really, really good job.
All right. I don't have much to add, but I just enjoyed going to the WASDA conference, getting to know our new, soon to be new board members. That was a good opportunity to get to know each other on a more personal level. And I enjoyed that. I really liked that we all seemed to use the opportunity to go to different breakout sessions so that we can bring some of the knowledge from each session back and build on that as things that we heard through the conference, because I thought it was a pretty good conference. I'm excited to start moving on the bonds and levy path a little, because I did go to a really exciting, energizing conference there. So I'm like, oh, can we get this in motion in our district? So excited for that. But just a really good opportunity to kind of get to know the new folks, and it was great to see all of our participation there. And I look forward to working with this new board going forward. That's all I got. All right. Well, anything, sorry, learning this new role. If there's nothing else, I will adjourn the meeting. All right. All right.
That's weird. Wow, that's cool. That's cool. Press this. This is cool, Mom.
Yes, thank you.
What's this? Is this a microphone? I like this.